Now, this presentation is briefly from the perspective of not only as a faculty, a healthcare professional, but I am also being a person with disability myself. It is basically my own perspectives and how I've taken up forward this disability advocacy movement in India. So, challenges to healthcare for persons with disabilities. Now, the global consensus for social accountability of medical schools states that it is the obligation to direct their education, research, and service activities towards addressing the priority health concerns of the community. But it is shocking that there is a population which is unheard, which is invisible, which is unspoken, and nearly over 1 billion people globally experience some form of disability. So that makes us, we, the persons with a disability, as the world's largest minority. 1 in 7 people, and we all experience old age, which further led to chronic ailments, or in a sense, which only adds to disability. So this number is only going to increase. The landmark report by the WHO, the World Report on Disability in 2011, they identified 8 disabling barriers, and I shall be taking these into account with the perspective of India. Now, as I did my MBBS, I did my MD, so I have experienced the various physical barriers which are existing in various medical schools, not only in my alumni college, but the various colleges all over India where I have been gone. And that's why it irritated me a lot, and I made a petition to the Court of Chief Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities, based on which the MCI, the Medical Council of India, they directed all the medical institutions in India to send a compliance report. Unfortunately, this most important letter through the Court of Chief Commissioner and through the Social Justice Ministry led to response only from initially 32 medical colleges and finally 52 out of 412 medical institutions in India. You can see the distribution here, how limited they are. The big institutes who have a big social responsibility, they just did not care. It is not only pertaining to the physical infrastructure. I have yet to see a medical hospital or a college which has an accessible website for persons with disabilities. And this media report quotes me, which states that top government websites are not disabled friendly. You can see the key non-compliant websites: Supreme Court of India, Election Commission, UGC, DU, JNU, AIMS, Nimhans, Apollo, Fortis, Leelavati, Shankara Netralaya, and the list goes on. Whom will it help? Only blind people? Is web accessibility only for the blind users? Certainly not. Disability is all about diversity. Web accessibility will help not only blind, but those who are having color vision problems, color blind, those who are having low vision, and that's a huge number because it includes our elderly citizens. Users with slow connections, so it will prevent the discrimination against poor individuals. Those who are deaf, those who are speech impaired, those who have learning disabilities, cognitive limitations, limited movement, arthritis and all, and those who are photosensitive. It will affect all. It's a huge number which we are not taking care of. As they said, charity begins at home. So I first wrote to my hospital, GTB hospital in Delhi, that our website should be made disabled friendly. But later on came to know that all the hospitals in Delhi, they are centrally linked to the GNCDD website by IT, maintained by IT. So that's why I sent again a petition in the State Commissioner for Disabilities, and after hearing, now they have submitted, they have issued an order directly to the Secretary IT and Secretary Health that by 31st December of this year, all the hospitals in Delhi, they have to make their website disabled friendly. Information also pertains to those who are having invisible disabilities, those who are deaf, those who cannot hear. I am deaf, but when will you listen? These are the instances from London where Nadia was denied a sign language interpreter during parturations. Similar thing happened in Delhi hospital. The situation is more grim in India because in India sign language is not a recognized language and there are regional variations as well. And how many hospitals or emergency services have you seen in India which has sign language interpreters? Imagine a scenario, an emergency condition, a lady comes to the emergency hospital, urgent appendicitis has to be done, appendectomy, but how will you take that informed consent? Are we trained for that? Perhaps not. So where it stands, I wrote to Chief Commissioner, the Medical Council of India, Ministry of Social Justice, Department of Disability Affairs, Health Ministry of Delhi, and finally, when they all shied away from this responsibility, the matter is now in the National Human Rights Commission. And they have lambasted MCI for their lack of social responsibility. The second is inadequate policies. We all know about Millennium Development Goals, but surprisingly, 1 in 7 have experienced some form of disability, but disability is excluded from MDGs. After a sustained advocacy, now the SDGs, they have some disability indicators, so that's a new news. My prime concern when I wrote to the Medical Council of India was when they are conducting audit inspections, they should include access audits of all the hospitals, but that was not taken care of. Moreover, the rights of persons with disabilities in the mental health care bill, it is still in the parliament seeking for the nod for so many years. Moreover, in India, any benefit which pertains to disabled concerns with disability certificate, shockingly, in the capital of India, only 22% have that magical disability certificate. All over India, only 38% have that magical disability certificate to avail benefits. This July, I filed another series of RTIs with the Delhi government to find out whether the capital of India has any disability policy. I was shocked to get the answer that even after enactment of ratification of UNCRPD in 2011, and this year we are celebrating 2 decades of Persons with Disability Act, Delhi does not have any state policy on disability. Small states like Chhattisgarh do have disability policy, but not in this place. After this, again the matter was taken up, and the government has stating that the drafting of state policy for Delhi state has been started and it is under process. But why we have to file cases for that? Third barrier is the lack of provision of services. We talk of assistive devices. To get a pair of crutches, there are a lot of problems. As you see the news report in Hindi, Jatil hai Viklango ke liye muft upkaran pana. Despite having certified by the government doctor that the person is disabled, despite himself having a disability certificate, he has to go to the Panchayat, get a signature from there, to the Tehsildar, get another signature from there, and to go again to the doctor to get just a pair of crutches. Handling of children with disabilities in referral, it has been clear-cut directive that those who are not trained in rehab services should not treat the disabled people. They should not experiment on them. But Medical Council of India considers physical medicine rehab as an optional department. The laughing stock is that 15-day internship is mandatory for all the medical students in India. From where they are doing this PMR, this 15-day posting when there are no departments in the majority of the medical institutes, because only few colleges have PMR departments. We can tackle physical barriers, we can tackle infrastructural barriers, but most difficult are the attitudinal barriers. The World Report states that disabled people have the same general healthcare needs, same needs, but they are 2 times more likely to find healthcare providers' skills and facilities inadequate, 3 times more likely to be denied healthcare, 4 times more likely to be treated badly in the healthcare system. One example of attitudinal barrier is that you can see Dr. Ted Rummel. He conducts orthopedic surgeries in his wheelchair. However, when I applied for the post of UPSC, I am already a permanent faculty at UCMS Delhi. When I applied for the same post, they rejected my candidature, stating, "Oh my God, you are disabled. How can you teach in a medical college?" That's on record. Not once, but twice, they rejected my candidature. Dr. Suresh Advani, the gentleman who pioneered the bone marrow transplantation program in India, he is a wheelchair user. And if he'd been born during that times of the MCI diktat, he would not have completed his MBBS, because MCI states that above 70% you cannot become a doctor. And here you can see a 100% doctor conducting orthopedic surgeries. These are the attitudinal barriers. So when I filed RTIs, I came to know that it is not about only physiology in the UPSC, rather all the specialist posts in Central Health Services from Ministry of Health, they are being denied, not suitable for disabled doctors. After a 4-year struggle, finally I was able to convince the Ministry of Health, and finally last December I wrote to the chief guest of today's inauguration, Mr. Nadda, that this is the nonsense we have been taking place for years and years. You have been denying us our basic rights. When I wrote to them, he take up this particular issue, and he wrote to his understudies that it has to be taken care of. Unfortunately, to get that particular order that now disabled people can apply for CHS posts, I have to file the RTIs, despite myself being a government doctor. One of the basic attitudinal barrier again is that many of us do not even know the meaning of accessibility. When I filed RTIs to know how many post offices in in Delhi are disabled friendly, the office of the director, General Post Office, a senior person, he informed in writing in the RTI that the GPO is centrally located and therefore accessible to all. So that is his definition of accessibility. The another issue identified by WHO was problems with service delivery, and the World Report on Disability states that physicians worldwide generally lack training about caring for disabled, thus frequently compromising their healthcare experiences. What is the basic reason for that? We all have good intentions, but why we're not able to do that? Because we're not exposed to disability studies. It is not there in our UG curriculum. I had filed RTIs with MCI, and that why disability studies and education is not part of the curriculum. Their response was that it is included in the PMR, which is in the internship, which is not mandatory in all the colleges. That is the only information they have, and that is the only 15-day period when an undergraduate medical doctor knows about how to interact with a blind person, with a hearing impaired, or with a deaf. We still do not know how to speak to them. Inadequate funding. Despite government's claim, the employment rate of disabled has actually fallen from 43 to just mere 37%. And we are talking about reservations. It is not about after reservation. Despite that, this is the thing what are happening. And the good scheme of Arunim from National Trust, it is facing acute shortage of funds. On the flip side, there is a funding, but there are no takers. There is a scheme for implementations of Person with Disability Act, which provides 50 lakhs to make one building accessible, 20 lakhs to make one website accessible. If you see the last line, though over a year has elapsed, but there are no takers for that. There are no takers. The main root cause is the lack of consultation and involvement of disabled people themselves. When I got those compliance reports from the MCI, from all the institutes in India, one of the prestigious and the most oldest medical college in Asia, their dean wrote this, that there are 21 disabled students at our place, which is a very big number, 21 disabled students in one college. They are attending classes without any difficulty. They do not require any special access. Are these special access? This medical school in Asia is the oldest one. They have the typical British infrastructure, huge steps. This gentleman is saying they do not require any special access. This is not special access, this is the basic right that they are in C, what we are talking about. When we went to Delhi government, that is me, and with me is a blind person. We two disabled people teach the IT ministry what is needed to make the website disabled friendly. Lack of data. Census 2001 said disabled are 2%. 10 years later, we are still 2%. WHO states we are 10%. We believe 15%. So how to tackle these barriers? My simple solution is that we need accessibility. For physical accessibility, we need universal design. I'm not talking about disabled only. There are people who are pregnant, there are elderly citizens. We all are part of diversity. And universal design will help all. Involve persons with disabilities, pass the law which is in the parliament, the rights-based law, include disability studies in the curriculum, because we want to educate the people right from day one, our medical students right from the day they come into the medical college. Fortunately, the government of India has launched an Accessible India campaign this time, and I'm part of that. So we are hoping for good things to come forward. In the end, I would say that people only have impairments. I have physical impairment. Many of you are using spectacles. If I ask you to take out the spectacles and read, you will become disabled. The point I want to make is that people only have impairments. Society with their barriers. Barriers include physical barriers, lack of information, and attitudinal barriers. They make them disabled. Thank you.